And what is the difference between those three?
What is the third one?
The third one is the resource mailbox.
Resource mailbox. So user mailbox is generally used by users,
Yeah.
like individual mailboxes.
Like,
Individual mailboxes. For example, my account, I showed you, I got an account with the name Siddharth, right?
mhm,
Then I assigned a license to this account, right? As soon as I assigned a license on it, I got a mailbox created for Siddharth. That's a user mailbox, because in that mailbox, only Siddharth will log in to that mailbox and he will use it, right? He will configure it in the Outlook, or he will log in using Web Outlook. So this is called user mailbox. Shared
mm,
mailboxes are generally used to be shared by multiple people.
multiple people to send and receive email, right? From a
Yes,
common address.
amongst multiple users. Now, for example, how will multiple users will use that shared mailbox? Using delegation access, which we just saw. What were the delegation access? There were three. One was full access or read and manage, right? Second
Mhm.
was, and third one was send on behalf. So shared mailboxes, these mailbox do not need a license. License is not required. You can simply go in Exchange Admin Center and create these mailboxes without a license. Means these are free of cost.
Mm,
For these, you would have to assign license. You cannot create a user mailbox right away. First, you will have to create an account and then you'll have to apply a license. Only then you get a user mailbox. User mailbox can be used directly to log in, but shared mailbox cannot be used to log in directly. How you can access the shared mailbox? Only through delegation access. Means, let's say Siddharth has a user mailbox and there's a shared mailbox. Let's say team data is the name of that shared mailbox. Okay. Now you
mm,
want to see the emails of team data. How you can see that? You cannot log in with the email address of team data. First, you will have to log into your own mailbox, and this mailbox should have full access to this mailbox. Once you have the full access, then you can access it through this access only. You cannot put username or email address to access this data right away. I'll show you. Then the third is called resource mailboxes. So there are two types of resource mailbox. One is known as room mailbox.
and equipment, right?
Equipment, exactly. Did we discuss this last time?
Well, you just mentioned it.
Okay. So room mailbox, these are similar kind of mailboxes, no difference, it's just a different name. So what happens is, generally you use calendars of these mailboxes. So what will happen is, let's say you have a meeting room in your building, in your organization, okay, in your campus, and that room has to be like, generally people use it for their meetings. Now how would you book that room? Let's say from 6 to 7 p.m. person A wants to use it, between 8 to 9 person B wants to use it, and 10 to 11, let's say person C wants to use it. How would you ensure that this room is not occupied by two people at the same time? How would you ensure that? For example, let's say A and B both want to use this room between 6 to 7. How would you manage that? So you create room mailboxes for such things. What will happen? Let's say A wanted to use it. A sent a meeting invite to this room mailbox for 6 and 7. At that moment, if the room is the meeting calendar, if it's empty, nobody has booked that meeting at between this duration, A will get that room. Then B will try to send a meeting invite to same room mailbox at the same duration, but his meeting invite will be declined. Why? Because this is already booked by A for that duration. So B will
Mm-hmm.
receive an email that your meeting request was declined because this room mailbox was not this like slot is not available. So B will choose a different time and then he will send the meeting invite. So using these mailboxes, you are just booking the calendar, and whosoever get that calendar booked for himself, then he can simply go to that room and have their meetings conducted there. There is why this is called resource mailbox. Similarly, let's say you have a common device which is used by a group of people in your organization. Let's say you have a printer, or let's say you have a big machine which cannot be assigned to multiple people at the same time. For example, in your medical field, let's say you have got an x-ray machine which is costly. You cannot give every person that x-ray machine. So you will just create a mailbox with that name, x-ray machine, right? Now, let's say you want to use that machine for this slot. You will send a meeting invite to this mailbox and that machine will be yours. This B person will send a meeting invite to that equipment mailbox, and whatever time slot he chooses, that machine will be his in that duration. Same thing, just send a meeting invite and either book room or book equipments. So these are known as resource mailbox. You do not need a license to create these mailboxes as well. These are free. Shared mailboxes are also
Mm-hmm.
free, but user mailbox would need a license. These are not free, these are paid. All right. Now, if I go to my admin center, right now, this is M365 admin center. Now I will show you how to go to Exchange admin center. Show all, then Exchange. This is Exchange admin center. Look at the address, admin.exchange.microsoft.com.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now here you have the option to add a shared mailbox, right? If I
Okay.
click on this and then let's say I type cell shared, or let's say meeting room 1. Okay. Then I type room 1, then the domain and create. Shared mailbox created successfully. It may take a few minutes before you can add members. Now, did I assign a license to this mailbox?
No.
Shared 1, or sorry, room, meeting room 1, okay? Now, if I click on that, how do I access it? I cannot simply go to my web Outlook and just type this email address and log in. No, I cannot do that. Why? Because this does not have a license. If you want to log in to a mailbox directly using username and password, you would need to apply a license first. But because there's no license assigned to the mailbox, how can I access it? Delegation, then full access here, add members. Now, for example, I put mine, save. All right. Now I will log into my own mailbox first. What is the URL to log into Web Outlook?
Outlook.office.com.
Yep. Now here I will go to open another mailbox, right? Either I can do it like this, or I can right click on this and then add shared folder or mailbox, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I go from here. What was the name of that email address? Room 1.
Mm-hmm.
I'm logged into that mailbox. Similarly, let's say this mailbox has to be shared amongst multiple users. You can simply keep adding the delegation access 10, 20, 50, however, like how many number of you want, you can add the delegation access. And once you do that, then those users will have to log into their own mailboxes and then use the same method to access this. And then they can read the emails. Any question on this?
Well, that's good for now. I
All
think I
right.
have to get ready to go to work. It's 2 o'clock.
All right. So today's class, I will share links about shared mailbox, equipment, resource mailbox, and user mailbox. And rest. One last thing before you go. This guest user here. If you remember, guest users are those mailboxes or those accounts, not mailboxes, those accounts in our own environment, which actually are not employees of our organization. Any employee of other organization which we want to give access to our resources. For example, let's say we have a SharePoint site, or let's say we have a Teams channel in which we have a group which we want other external users of other organizations to be a part of, and we want them to be there in that group. So what we can do is we can simply create a guest user account from here using their own email address. For example, there's a user, let's say abc at microsoft.com. Now microsoft.com is an external organization, right? We can add that user here using his email address, and that user, then that account which will get created here, that we can add into our internal groups, or we can assign permissions to that guest account over our SharePoint sites. So guest user, in a very simple concept, are external users of other organization for which we create a guest account here in our directory to give them access to our resources like SharePoint sites or Teams channel groups. We will discuss more about it later. Okay.
So,
All right. So talk to you tomorrow then. Same time.
mm,
All right. Bye bye. Take care. Enjoy your day.
all right. Thanks. Your husband.